Welcome to our informal executive producer interview session with Friesenbruch Brannon Media, and specifically we have Tony Brannon and waiting in the wings Michael Friesenbruch, and they're going to talk to me a bit about the record you see right above my head here, Dangerously Close, which is the new album that as a team we put together and released this year. And I'm going to start off by introducing Tony Brannon. Tony, tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I've sort of been around the entertainment business most of my life, and from running nightclubs, discos, being in bands, promoting bands, making records, playing with you.
Right.
So it's been good.
Cool.
So anyway, tell me, Mr. Will Black, describe the creative process that you sort of used in coming up with Dangerously Close, and what were your influences involved in that?
I think, well, the initial thing that got it all started was doing a pledge music campaign to raise funds for it. In the process of doing that, I took a number of songs I'd left over kind of from my first record, some I'd written kind of as demoed in between, and then because there was a 5-year gap between this record and my first record.
So you had a 5-year gap like John Lennon had a 5-year gap.
Yeah, I'm sure his gap was a lot more impressive than my gap, I'm sure. Anyway, so I had these tunes kind of sitting around. I wanted to do another record, but this time I went about it differently. So I did a pledge music campaign, which is a crowdsourcing campaign to raise funds for the record, which was very successful. And that's how I brought you guys on board as executive producers. As far as the creative process to write the material, a lot of these tunes that were on the record were created one of two ways. They're either written on acoustic, sort of in my bedroom, and debuted on my podcast, which is The Blinding Heights, which is where I showcase all the other independent artists from around the world. Or a couple of the tunes were actually written with another guitar player all over the internet. A gentleman by the name of Chris Deverell, based out of Columbus, Ohio, he's a guitar player in the style of Eddie Van Halen. And a couple of tracks that we demoed together, all again online, we'd never met face to face, ended up appearing on the album, in particular Original Rose and Forever Was Never Enough.
That's great. So do you find that the songs that you wrote in your bedroom versus the songs that you wrote with him, which ones did you think had sort of more emotion to them?
Well, it's different because the ones that I wrote in my bedroom were very singer-songwriter-esque. You know, they're written on acoustic guitar. It's me creating the whole song, whereas...
Were you alone in the bedroom when you were writing these songs?
Well, you were there, don't you remember? Oh, he's trying... Oh, sorry. That was another bedroom at another time. No. Yeah, absolutely. I do write on my own most of the time. And in fact, when I say most of the time, it's because the one time that I did write collaborated was with Chris Deverell on that.
Great.
On those two tracks, yeah. So...
tell me a little bit about... the song that I played on with you.
Oh, yeah. Folks, I gotta tell you, I wanted to do one track in Bermuda, completely recorded and done in Bermuda, and because most of the record was, we'll talk more of this later on, but most of the record was recorded in Toronto, Canada.
It was made in Canada.
It was made in Canada, yeah.
Eh?
Completely, eh? But I wanted to do one track in Bermuda with completely Bermudian guys at a Bermudian studio because, I knew all these people. I wanted to get them involved. In particular, I wanted to do a track with Tony because by this point we'd been playing together for a couple of years, and he'd already played on this particular song quite a bit. And the song was called Hell Over Heaven.
Hell Over Heaven, which we play a lot when we play together. Well, every night we play together, we play it, and it's a very nice song actually. I really like the song, and it was really nice to have you ask me to play on it, along with Tony Cox, who's a great local percussion player. So I think it's a very nice song.
When we did Hell Over Heaven in the studio, we did it at Just Platinum, which is here in Bermuda, just actually literally 2 blocks down the street from where we are right now at the Friesenbruch-Meyer offices in downtown Hamilton. And the thing was, it was all pretty much a one-shot deal. I mean, we had Tony come in. We did one rehearsal of it with Tony because we never played with, Tony Cox, because we had 2 Tonys involved, Tony Brannon, Tony Cox. And we had one rehearsal at my place, I think the day before, and came in and laid it all down. And we did it all one night, vocals, guitars, and everything.
It's not very difficult when most songs are only 3 chords.
That's right.
It's great.
3
That's
chords
what's
and the
great
truth.
about rock music. It's only 3 chords, so it's not really hard for us when we know 3 chords each.
And you might
So, we got it figured out really quickly. It's fantastic. It's great. Anybody can play rock and roll. Did you know that?
Anyone can play it, but not anyone can be great at it.
Ah, that's a new one.
I'm not saying I am. I'm just saying.
You're brilliant.
No. But yeah, Hell Over Heaven was great. I'm really glad I had a Bermudan connection on the record, yeah, it's been a very well received track.
Well, it's been a pleasure playing on it with you, and I continue to enjoy playing in the Hog Penny or wherever we're going to be playing. And one day I'll play that song in your bedroom with you.
I can't wait. Fingers crossed. And my toesies as well. You can't see them because I'm wearing boots, but yeah, they're crossed.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
And thanks for allowing us to become a part of your project.
Mm-hmm.
I know Mike will probably have some good things to say when he speaks to you in a minute. But yeah, thanks a lot. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Tony.
It's a pleasure being here. I'm the other half of Brannon Media, and it's been a real pleasure being part of your project. And I believe that we assisted perhaps in pushing it across the line and bringing it to fruition.
Yep.
I'm very, very proud of that. And also the tracks themselves. Obviously, I've listened to them a number of times. I think they're very well recorded, great musicians on the album, and it's and folks out there, please go and buy Dangerously Close. It's really a very, very good rock and roll album. I think one of the things that I wanted to ask regarding the whole process of putting this together, and I come from a position where I'm an insurance person here in Bermuda. Just to backtrack slightly, when Will discussed the project with Tony and myself, Will said that if you'd support this project, that I'd be able to get a Will Black T-shirt, and so that was the real hook there. So I'm really delighted. Thanks indeed for the T-shirt, Will.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. If you can amplify a little bit more on the creative process, and one of the things I've always been curious about, and maybe Tony and I we chat about it a little bit as well, is that when you put an album together, today I think the album concept has been lost, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And is it a collection of songs? Does one song lead into the other? Do you have lyrics which you write for one song which end up being in another song on the same album? Just amplify a little bit on that whole creative process, if you would, at the evolution of the songs and the album concept.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that the album concept isn't dead. It's still alive. It's still there, and the reason it is because it's really up to the artist how they want to promote and distribute their own music now. And being an independent artist, I'm not at the mercy of any record company or publicity arm or anything on how I want to promote my music. So the record,
album concept, creative process, stringing the songs together in terms of, does one actually lead to another? Do you have 2 or 3 in your mind, and then you say, oh, okay, I'm going to take that part,
right,
and I'm going to use that part in another song, and then then there's a story that comes as a part of that.
On this project, no, not really. I think there's some central themes that run through the album, but I didn't think of it of having a connection that way. When I was in the studio and we were mastering and choosing song order, that was very particular. I mean, I felt that the songs do run in a certain symmetry together. If you start with Trace Your Tattoo and then with Dangerously Close, there's a certain momentum that builds and ends with that tune. But as far as the album format, I think that in this day and age, it's really up to the artists and their fan base how they want to sell their product. There is a market for whatever you want to sell as an artist to your fans, if you have that base that's willing to buy. And the thing is, with doing an album project versus doing singles, for me, because for the past 8 years I've been performing here in Bermuda regularly at Hog Penny, I only have a couple months of the year to go to Canada or Toronto and do the record.
There are a whole slew of influences there. It's your own brand. you're absolutely, definitely your own artist, but there are weaving in and out are obviously some of the people who've influenced you over the years. Could you speak a little bit about those influences?
I'd be happy to. And my two go-to guys are Bruce Springsteen and Bon Jovi, in particular Richie Sambora and John Bon Jovi, the writing team from Bon Jovi. Those three guys are sort of my main influences. I grew up listening to. My dad got me turned on to both those bands actually when I was a kid, and yeah, you definitely hear that throughout the album. But some other influences I had that you may not pick up on as quickly, but are definitely there, are guys like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Queen, Prince, Guns N' Roses, even Mellencamp, of course, Tom Petty, some of those Heartland rock kind of guys.
That's a pretty powerful and broad palette, as you said.
Yeah, and I like to term my style of music as new classic rock. And it's funny because the other day I had a post on YouTube, somebody posted, well, new classic rock is actually an oxymoron. It can't be classic if it's new, and if it's new, it can't be classic. And I said, exactly.
Yes, I rest my case.
Got your attention, didn't it?
Yeah.
There you go.
That's
so, yeah.
One last question, and that is, as you begin to promote your music outside of Bermuda, you're doing a mini tour.
Yeah.
You get in 2 weeks. I believe that's 3 days.
It's a 3-day tour through Ontario and Montreal.
Maybe describe, what are your plans for the next 6 months, next year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the future for my original music is in touring outside Bermuda. As any business, and I look at my music as a business first and music second, okay? As any business looking to expand their market, you have to look into what markets is your product going to sell, and the amount of time and effort and money it's going to take to turn a profit in those new markets. So next year, 2014, I can tell you, the plan is I'll be here. I'll be at Hog Penny again doing those seasons. But in the off season, which basically for me begins in January, over those 3 months I'll be doing a lot of promotion, online especially, and then at the end of 2014 I'll be doing even more touring. But I don't want to give away any dates or anything on that because that's still in flux. But basically I'm trying to expand my touring options outside of the Hog Penny experience, and hoping that I can have those two halves create a more complete whole.
Well, that's great. You have some great songs out there already. I know you will continue to write. If we can help along the way in the process, we'd be very happy to do so. Thank you for including us on this one.
Michael, thanks for being part of
Will.
Thanks for being part of the project. I really appreciate it.
It's been great fun. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Please support my creation of new rock music videos and visit Patreon today. Rock on.
I got a hold of love. I got a hold of love. I got a hold of your love. Hold on now, baby. Hold on now, darling. Hold on now, my baby doll. I got a
Okay, how do I look? Am I ready to go? Of course not.
You look awful, you sound dreadful, you'll go a long way.